We're going to use the lockers again while we explore Akihabara before we go to Yokohama.
If one could only control their inner conversations, morning, noon, and night, and carry them right into the dream world, he would know what world he is creating. Stop for one moment and ask yourself, what am I thinking now? You are carrying on a little tiny inner speech at every moment of time. You may be in the presence of someone that the world thinks important, but you don't. And inwardly you are saying, but only God hears it. That's what you're actually saying. Outwardly, you are pleased to meet him, and you are flattered with the contact. But inwardly, what are you really saying? This is what I ask everyone to observe. Observe what you are actually doing on the inside, for that is what God sees. And what you are doing on the inside, you are doing in little tiny speech movements, and they are crystallizing in the manifested world round about you. From Neville Goddard's 1971 lecture, Control Your Inner Conversations, aka Mind and Speech. Some people may not be aware of all the mental inner dialogue that goes on within one's mind. But now that it's been brought to your attention, if you start to observe, you too will find that morning, noon, and night you carry different thoughts, inner dialogue, mental conversations throughout the day. It's one thing to imagine for what you want, but if the rest of the day you're thinking of all kinds of fears, doubts, and negative things, you may be very well delaying, if not totally neutralizing, what it is you do want. Or maybe you get it, and it's not in the best way, because it's colored with all kinds of fears and doubts and other negative energies. So Neville's inviting you to start to become aware of what kind of thoughts you're having. What is your mental diet? An interesting exercise that I did that you can also try. Use something like a cell phone app that has multiple alarms, and throughout the day have it go off. It could be every 6 hours, every 3 hours, every hour. And when it goes off, for a moment, stop what you're doing and take note. What kind of thoughts are going through your head? What kind of feelings are coming from them? And note them down. You can try this for one day or even a week to get an idea of what your mental diet is, so you can be aware of the things you're manifesting unintentionally. And if you find yourself thinking too often things you don't want to manifest, you can take 2 seconds right there and plant something more lovely in your imagination, intentionally daydream something more wondrous. It's time you get down to real manifesting business, invest well, but do your best to have fun. Don't beat yourself up.
How much? About $20? Okay. My kids' burger. Is mine Wagyu too, or just yours?
I think yeah.
Mine's a kid size. Thank you. Look in the bread, they put the shoulder on it.
If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, well, we all would be kings. We all would be everything we want to be in this world, but we find it more difficult to do it than to know what to do. So I could tell you from now on until the ends of time, but only practice will do it, just practice. So you see, we read these mystical truths, and they sound so easy, but we often find so many people don't get the things they want, especially the big things. Because although it sounds easy, to put it into application, and to continue to practice until you figure out how to really do it and succeed and build your faith, it takes time in Caesar's world, just like any great skill. This is no different. So this is your reminder to make sure you're keeping with the faith and you're practicing each day, even just taking the mood of a wish fulfilled into your sleep each night. But the next step would be to watch your mental diet. And it may not feel easy at first, but if you really apply yourself, it will become second nature and start to even become an ease and joy.
What?
that part.
What about it? What about that part?
No, not that part.
What is it?
You cannot see that.
I can. It's a cartoon.
In front of-
It's
in
a
front
cart. I see it. It's a cartoon person. How did they come to human? Toshi left. Toshi.
He's a man.
It's like filled with a custard, like Boston cream donut, and the top is almost like a caramelized creme brulee top. Neville goes on to say, "You can choose life or you can choose death. You can choose the good or choose the evil, a blessing or a curse. It's entirely up to man to choose anything. And look into this manifested world and you'll see what we have chosen. But every morning you see the headlines, nothing but disaster. You see what man has chosen. He seems either to want it or he has fed it, one or the other. Look at the editorials. We need that in order to sell papers, or else we ourselves are demanding it from him. But you feed upon it. Morning, noon, and night, we feast upon all this unloveliness and carry on these little internal mental conversations with ourselves. But they don't remain there. They balloon and objectify themselves and become solidified as our manifested world. Are you aware of what you choose each day? What is the world you see around you? What is it reflecting? Sometimes it's easy to feast on things that aren't pleasant, like in news or TV or movies or gossip. But we also start to see the effect these things have in our life and the world that we outpicture. So be careful what you feed your attention, awareness on, because that's what will grow. And if you're going to take time to manifest the things you want, but then the rest of the time feast on unlovely things, then don't be surprised if your results are mixed. And many have feasted so long on these unpleasant things. So be willing to give them the time to nurture the good things to take their place. No matter how long it takes, it's worth it. It's your destiny to spiral up, to know your heaven within, that it be reflected gracefully without.
14時1分発快速大船行きです。
Tokyo Station. We found the tulip rose.
Not only.
Sweetest hubby.
プリンの小さ2個入りでございます。
Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it is so pretty. It doesn't really...
In closing, Neville shares one of his experiences. Neville sometimes would take a whole year off, and he would spend rather lavishly. And his brother, who was more financially responsible, would give him money but sometimes get upset. And Neville found that sometimes in his head, he was mentally arguing with his brother. And in noticing this, he revised those conversations and had loving conversations with his brother. Whether his brother were to give him more money or not, he carried on a most glorious conversation with him like two lovers. Because Neville and his brother really do love each other very much. So Neville changed the older man into the new man by changing his mental conversations with him. And Neville says, "Do you know, in no time flat, unasked, a very large wonderful check came to me, and no request, I didn't appeal at all." So Neville is sharing with you from his experience the way it worked for him, and he realizes sometimes people just love the argument, but also realize it's going to balloon and crystallize and manifest somehow into your world. So watch it. And Neville promises you, when you start to turn around the ugly conversations you used to have and carry on lovely conversations, it will become very pleasant. Is there anyone that you're upset with, that maybe you had an unlovely conversation with them in your imagination, your mind? Let us take a moment to turn that conversation and make it one of the most lovely conversations. And now, let us go into the silence. good